It's your boy, Sir Charles.
And it's Max. What's happening, everybody?
Back like we never left, Miss Max.
That's it.
For the people. And as promised, per usual, always, Max, we are in overdrive when it comes to this community info. Like we're in overdrive when it comes to community right now. That's right, and I'm loving it. As we said, this is a season, that back to school season. So much to do, so we got to rep the schools. We got to give the good word on the street as always. But one thing, Max, that's not such a sexy topic that we do from time to time is the environment.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes it's something that gets so easily overlooked, but you know, we're going to make it sexy one way or the other. And so to help us do that, we have Miss Carolyn Pugh with us today. And Miss Carolyn, can you hear us clearly?
All right, while they sort that out, Ms. Pugh, I'm sure you caught that intro. So you have a tall order here today. You're going to make conversation about climate sexy.
Carolyn, I think we got you now.
All right, how's that?
There we go. All right. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Yep. Anytime. And so you are a part of the Community Climate Collaborative, and you all have an initiative right now called Clearing the Air. And I'm sure the folks have been seeing some of your representatives out and about, engaging the community, getting the surveys and all that good stuff done. So I know a lot probably have heard the name, but for those that have not, let's just start from the very beginning. This collaborative, and first, you can formally introduce yourself as well on how you got involved with C3. Let's start there.
Yeah, so I'm Carolyn Pugh, and I got involved with C3 by joining as the policy director about a year and a half ago now. So I'm from Charlottesville. I went to UVA and did environmental science and moved around a bunch, did a lot of other things, and I'm really glad to be back in Virginia working on this.
Nice. And glad to have you back. So now the C3 as it pertains to the Clearing the Air objective. And as I understand it, there's other community partners that you all have involved as well that's trying to inform the folks, educate, and not only giving the education, but also receiving the feedback, right? As it pertains to what the community may know and how they want to see this initiative push forward. So give us the background on this Clearing the Air. What is this about exactly?
Yeah, so it's a big project. We've got a lot of partners working on it. We're doing a lot of community outreach and engagement, and have been getting really great and valuable participation from folks. So Clearing the Air is a project we're working on with Charlottesville to think about what our long-term clean energy future could look like in a way that it works for Charlottesville, is affordable, is reliable, and is unique to all of the both opportunities and challenges that we have here in this kind of small, beautiful city that we all live in. So we're working with the UVA Center for Community Partnerships, with the Southern Environmental Law Center, with folks who are representing the county and the city and advising our modeling and technical pieces of the study. And then we're working with a consulting firm called Dunsky Climate and Energy Advisors, who know everything there is to know about modeling around energy transitions. And so where we are with the study right now is we're about halfway through engagement, going out, talking to folks, trying to understand what people's worries, hopes, needs are around energy and what they want to see the city and even the state do to smooth over this transition and make sure that nobody's left on things that are polluting their homes and also driving up bills. Because a lot of the technologies that we have now are able to save you a lot of money down the line, but may cost more upfront. And that's money that people may not have to spare to make those investments.
And what's the jurisdiction that you all are covering? Is this just city proper? Or?
It's more than city proper. So we're looking at the municipal gas utility. So Charlottesville runs its own gas utility, and it also serves part of the county. So anybody who is in Charlottesville City, or in the part of Albemarle County that's served by Charlottesville Gas is part of this study.
Okay. And now, what kind of spearheaded this? Is there a particular projection, as it pertains to pollution that made this initiative really gain traction, or what are some of the top things that you all see that we're facing?
I lost your audio now. Sorry about that.
Yep. Can you hear me? Yep.
Yeah. So, first of all, the city has climate goals, so we're working to try to meet those climate goals, and burning natural gas or fossil gas is going to need to be reduced in order to meet those goals. The other thing that's driving this...
Do you happen to know the goal? It's I don't know the decrease and by what year, but it's something like really astronomical if you're asking me. But I guess I don't know anything about climate, so I suppose it can be done. But do you happen to know the details about that?
Yeah, so the goal is to get to net zero by 2050, which is it's in line with international targets that were set with the understanding that we would all need to meet that goal in order to avoid the very worst effects of climate change.
I interrupt you to say, is that possible? Is that really possible? Are you getting our hopes up?
So there's two pieces there. Avoiding climate change, no. Like, we're already seeing the effects of climate change. It's hot out right now.
Yeah.
And we're breaking records I don't want to say every year, because I don't know if that's true, but pretty often.
Okay.
But there is hope in that we could keep it from getting a whole lot worse.
Okay.
And there's also a lot we can do to mitigate the effects that we're going to see either way.
Got it. Fair answer.
Yeah. And just to finish your thought as well, particularly our listening area, what are those, top ones that the people really need to make note of, that you all feel that we need to address to really, try to head off as much of the pollution as possible for our area here?
So some of the key ones in Charlottesville area are transportation and building stocks. Okay. So energy is the things like powering your laptop and your heating and air conditioning. And then transportation is things, driving cars. We need to improve our bus system, more service, cleaner buses, and get people off of just driving their own cars everywhere, which is not something that you can do until you really invest in better transportation infrastructure.
Interesting.
Which is something that I've heard that the city is doing to some degree. You have just to forgive my ignorance on the topic, but I know that they're moving towards battery electric buses or hybrid buses, and diesel buses. I don't know where that lands us in terms of meeting our climate goals, but the attention, the focus is there, and it seems like steps are being taken to help us to reach that goal by 2050.
That is true. The city set goals to switch over to electric buses. Those goals were set when there was a lot more federal support for it.
Yeah.
And so I think there's some question as to how many can still be done without all of those funding sources. But hybrid buses are something I know the city's still looking into. We're trying to still get as many electric buses as we can. And we hope that eventually other funding sources become available as well.
Okay. So let's, if I may, Charles, let's talk about that. What's happening at the federal level and how it's impacting your initiative and local climate goals, and I guess those across the country as well. What is it that you're hoping, who's advocating to or on the federal level to try to help mitigate this issue and reach those goals as well? What would you like to see out of the current administration?
Well, so from the position I'm speaking from now, C3, we're a local org, so we focus really more on that piece and support partners who are working at the federal level. But in broad strokes, we just hope to see some of the previous funding opportunities from the Inflation Reduction Act be brought back.
Okay.
And in terms of how it affects the project now, it's another reason that it's so important right now for the city and the state to be thinking about what their role is and what they can do.
Right.
Even not thinking about all of those federal influences that are changing back and forth.
Now, data centers are a big topic right now, of course. So does this work address the expansion of data centers that's being put in a lot of the rural areas? Is that part of this work?
That's a great question. You can't really talk about climate and environment in Virginia and not talk about data centers. So the interesting part of this study is, so we're thinking about trying to reduce gas on the local level. And so trying to reduce the amount that's used in our own buildings here. And it's sometimes hard to see how that's connected to the larger landscape. And data centers are really driving up the amount of gas usage statewide. But the way that it's related is that the data centers are also driving up electric costs. And so if we're working on trying to allow people to get that cleaner energy and switch over to more efficient and clean technologies like air source heat pumps in their homes, we also have to be thinking about how much is that electricity going to cost, and the data centers and all of the build out that's happening there, and the way that those costs are being put onto residents instead of being borne by the huge companies that are building out those hyperscale data centers, are now throwing an additional wrench into an already really complicated problem.
Interesting. Yeah. So we are talking to Carolyn Pugh with C3, the Charlottesville Area Community Climate Collaborative, and there is a project right now called Clearing the Air. Right. All right. So Carolyn, what you were just saying, I'm curious about the research or the findings as it pertains to the development, because that's what Charlottesville, talks a lot about, right? So it seems like that we're kind of trying to balance the development, along with safe environment, right, as well.
Yeah.
So when we look at the development that even the power companies that may have data centers, they say, well, if you bring this, then it could generate this new realm of career fields and things of that sort. And then I imagine that also when we talk about alternative energy, the city also would need to be investing in some new training as well, right? For like city employees that right now, I guess in utilities, right? If you're in the utility department for the city or the county, and if there's alternative ways for power and energy, I would imagine like that could also open up, grounds for either looking for new workforce or the opportunity for new training, right? So what does that sort of investment look like as it pertains to preparing us for alternative forms of energy?
Yeah, so when you're thinking about transitioning from gas onto electric buildings and cleaner technology for heating and AC, one of the biggest barriers is getting a well-trained workforce that is making recommendations and doing high-quality installations for that new type of technology. And it's not a new type of technology, but it's maybe not what people are used to installing. But actually, if you look at trends across the whole country, air source heat pumps are selling more than gas furnaces already. So it's really something that is already happening, and we just need to be thinking about how it could affect us here and how we could make it as positive as possible. So I think that investing in training for HVAC installers is going to be huge, and trying to work with partners who are also doing energy efficiency improvements, building up skill set of local electricians to be helping with this transition are all going to be really important for the city.
So Max, something that jumps out to me though is when we talk about the carbon footprint, right? So what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Carolyn, but that sounds like that we would need to increase the quality of our public transportation, right? And I guess even in instances of where things are walkable or whether things are bikeable, like we would want to promote that even a little bit more. But that just makes me think about the landscape of Charlottesville, right? Because there's a lot of commuters that come to Charlottesville. And Caroline, I don't know if this has come up in you all's work at all, but, I'm pretty sure that more people work in Charlottesville than live in Charlottesville because you have so many commuters, right? You have UVA, that's the biggest employer in the area, right? So I'm thinking about like how this kind of plays off of that, and if the thought has gone into when you think about the commuters, right? Like even bigger picture. I know at one point there was supposed to be like a speed rail. At one point, people were talking about going up and down the 29 corridor. So when you think like grander sort of ideas like that, has any of that come to the table when you think about pollution and all of those that commute to Charlottesville? Because we're not just talking about people who live here and can maybe walk or bike somewhere. So any thoughts about commuters?
Yeah, and so for this study in particular, clearing the air, it's really focused on energy and buildings. Mm-hmm. But as we talk about that and start thinking more broadly and creatively about, okay, what do we want our future to look like here? We are hearing a lot of people talk about transportation, and that is something that C3 or the Community Climate Collaborative works on too. We've done, and this has really been spearheaded by Ms. Sharika Joan-Lewis at UVA Center for Community Partnerships, but a lot of engagement with local youth, including high school students. And they really see the importance of having clean transportation and clean spaces to go and just hang out and spend time together. One of the comments that was really cool is just a student talking about what they want to see in terms of a pollution-free future. And they noted they just want to have a nice place where there's some grass and they can go lay down with their friends and be able to see the stars and not have it be hazy and poor air quality. And then another student noted that they know that electric buses are a little bit more expensive. They're actually quite a bit more expensive in some cases, but because the city only pays a small portion of the cost to the city isn't as dramatically different as if you're just looking at sticker price of those buses. And I think as people who will be riding those school buses and walking by them and also growing up to experience the future, that we're going to have these high school students really understand the importance of that trade-off.
Yeah. So the citizens want to know the cost analysis, Carolyn. Is this going to make my taxes go up, Carolyn? Because you're talking about buses that cost more. That sounds like some taxing, Carolyn. I don't know. Like, have y'all talked about that?
We talk about that all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's why I think there's situations where hybrid buses make sense instead of electric buses, depending on how big the cost difference may be. But I do think that the conversation gets a little bit sidetracked for the city's budget when you look at just this, like I said, the sticker price of the buses, because it's a very small percentage match that the city is really paying for those.
Yeah. I hear the debate all the time about just how much public transportation, at least, has the impact that it has on our climate, and whether or not, I guess, folks may be under the impression that it has a greater impact than it necessarily does, and that other elements need to be considered. So there's always this big debate when public transportation gets into these conversations of transitioning to battery electric diesel buses, and just how much of a impact it'll have on local community. But I will say that one of our city councilors, and I'm sure in this sense she wouldn't have any problem with me calling her out, but one of our Vice Mayor Oshrin is very outspoken and a huge advocate for creating a biking and walkable city. And climate is one of those things where you really begin to understand just how interconnected all of the different elements of where you live, places you enjoy, one thing is dependent upon another. But she's a huge advocate for creating a bikeable and walkable city, and some people push back against that, right? We like our cars. They are convenient, and not everybody's lifestyle is set up to be able to ride a bike. You certainly understand that argument. But I will say, at least from personal experience, that the more and more you hear and you learn and are open to listening to the argument, for lack of a better word, of making Charlottesville a more, not completely, but a more walkable, bikeable city, talking about streetscapes, walkscapes, different things like that, you begin to understand the bigger picture and how it benefits all of us. And so, yeah, I definitely just wanted to put that out there. And I know that the council recently has discussed, I guess, disinvesting in BP. As far as I'm probably not going to explain this correctly, but we apparently have to make a certain investment in to an organization or an entity that is going to kind of counterproduct the impact that we're having in terms of using fossil fuels and things like that. And so right now, at least, I know that one of those places of choice is BP, and we've talked about are those funds really being used in the way that we assume they're being used, and they're being used halfway across the world. So is there a way of maybe disinvesting and using those funds locally, finding local groups working on climate change, to be able to fund them to do their job bigger and better? And so maybe we can find a way to have those funds, some of those funds be allocated to C3 and the work that they're doing.
Awesome.
So.
Yeah. Thank you for that info.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. So the vote actually already decided, like you mentioned, that we're, as a city, not going to keep paying BP for these offsets, in part because, like you mentioned, oftentimes you're really not getting what you think you're getting with those international offsets from companies like BP. But instead, the money could be put towards helping the city buy electric buses or hybrid buses, or even invest in energy efficiency and things like that.
And so the work that you do is more along the lines of the research that is then presented to someone else to take action. It's not a call to action of your own necessarily.
It's some of both.
Okay.
And our call to action right now is to get involved and let us know what you want to see for Charlottesville's energy future. So we've got, we're doing focus groups. We're out tabling. We've got a survey online, and we're doing webinar presentations. So we're hoping that everybody can learn a little bit more and then tell us about your own experience and what you already know about your community. And that way we can incorporate it into our study and what we're recommending.
And how does UVA get pulled into that conversation when we think about the hospital and the university?
Yeah, you're asking some really good questions. So UVA has its own goals to get off of gas and fossil fuels. And they are also pretty ambitious. And they're making good progress towards trying to get off of that. So for years and years, UVA had a coal plant on their campus, and they've just been transitioning that to gas. Ultimately, they'll need to, again, transition off of gas because gas is still a fossil fuel and it's still polluting. But they're already setting up some campus that's using district energy, so using heat, geothermal types of heats to power their new campus over on Fantine. And that's the type of thing that they could expand. So we actually expect that they will be pretty ambitious in reducing their gas use, and they make up 30% of the share of the gas utility right now. So that's one of the reasons we need to be thinking about this, is if they're getting off and they're one of the biggest customers, once they get off, everybody else who's still on it, their prices are going to go up.
Okay, yeah. That's definitely a good projection to make note of, right? Like that's some incentive right there.
Yeah, and it's a reason we need to think now about how are we protecting the residents who are on the system longer from those higher costs down the line.
Yeah, yeah. Now, what comes to my mind from that too is, the like the very tangible things for people. If I'm a local business owner, or or if I have a household here in the area, what are some things that you all are recommending that I do from both sides? Like, for my business, are there any costs? Right, if I'm a small business and I'm being asked, that I need. Like to have cleaner energy usage or less energy usage. And same thing for my household. I may have a household full of people, right? Like, what are some of the tips and things that you all are recommending to the citizens and business owners?
Yeah, I think the biggest tip I would say is go check out the Energy Resource Hub. It's a collaboration between LEAP, C3, the city, and the county. And there are all sorts of different financial resources and incentives that you can access through that hub, whether they are from the city, the county, the state, or even Dominion. And there's also energy navigators, because a lot of times these resources are very hard to sign up for, figure out if you're eligible, figure out what they are. It's very bureaucratic. And so having somebody who can help you quickly figure out, okay, here are the 3 things that you could get cost reductions on and how you do it, and even come out to your home or business and do a walkthrough and figure out maybe where you're losing energy and what's causing higher bills.
And you said that's a hub, that's a website that acts as a hub to different resources? Yeah, if you can share that with us, we'll definitely put that in our comment section for the listeners.
Oh, great. Yeah. I'll send you a link right now.
Okay, awesome. And I think, Max, besides that, just wanted to make sure that you let folks know about engagement opportunities and ways to get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So I also put the link for our study. It's the Climate Collaborative / Clearing the Air. And we've got all kinds of opportunities there, and we've got a survey up and just general feedback form. We've got upcoming webinars. If you're interested in joining a focus group and talking to us in a more informal way, please email. You can find the email on there too.
Okay.
And we'll have those opportunities coming up because we just want to hear from as many people as possible.
Awesome.
All right. Well, is there anything, before we let you go, anything that you wanted to cover that maybe we didn't get an opportunity to speak on yet?
I think just that there are some big picture opportunities that we're thinking about here that are a little longer term, that maybe we would need some new authority or support from the state to get, but that are worth thinking about. And so encouraging people to be thinking big about what our future could look like and whether the city could be investing in things like rooftop solar and battery storage and local resources to kind of insulate us from all of the things that are happening at a bigger level, like the data center build out and rising costs.
All right. I really appreciate the way you broke down the impact that data centers have on our communities, because a lot of people hear that they are bad on the climate, but they don't necessarily understand the reasons why. So I definitely appreciate that. And thank you for sharing your Sunday with us and the good work that you and your team are doing. Our community thanks you. Climate thanks you.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Sure.
Thank you.
Take care.